Hi everyone and welcome to the next video as part of Career 2.4 Antenatal and Postnatal Screening. If you haven't already done so, I do recommend you go and watch the antenatal screening first, because if one of those screenings does indicate a potential health problem, that's when these diagnostic tests would be offered. Just a word of warning as well, this topic does cover some sensitive issues. But the two standard prenatal diagnostic tests are amniocentesis, where some of the amniotic fluid surrounding the fetus will be removed in order to isolate the fetal cells, or the chorionic villus sampling, more easily referred to as CVS, which is where some of the placental tissue is removed to isolate those fetal cells. And both of these have their advantages and disadvantages, so which one is ultimately selected will very much depend on the circumstances. For example, the CVS can be carried out earlier in pregnancy than the amniocentesis. However, it does come with a slightly higher risk of miscarriage. So these are things that would need to be factored in when deciding which one to opt for. But regardless of whether it's CVS or amniocentesis that's carried out, the objective is to isolate some of those fetal cells, which can then be cultured in the laboratory to make sure we've got sufficient cells to produce what's known as a karyotype. So this is a visualization of all the individual's chromosomes arranged into their homologous pairs. Just bear in mind, however, just because a screening test does indicate there is a potential health problem, a potential genetic disorder, that does not mean that individuals do need to proceed with these diagnostic tests. There are risks involved, and it may be that the individuals involved do not want to proceed with them at all, which is perfectly fair. Another potential thing that would need to be assessed and people guided through is the decisions that might be taken should these tests come back positive, whether they do want to proceed with the pregnancy, what help is available, and what are the other health options. So, with all that being said, let's now try some of the past paper questions. Pause the video and see how you get on. This question is all about CVS. We're told it's a technique which can be used during antenatal screening. The cells obtained from CVS are used to prepare a karyotype. So, part A, the diagram below shows the uterus of a pregnant woman with a section of the placenta enlarged. And you were first asked to place a cross on the diagram of the enlarged section of the placenta to indicate the area from which the cells were removed. So, as long as the X is somewhere within the fetal tissue part of the diagram, you can see you've got the fluid, you've got the maternal tissue, but it's got to come from the fetal tissue part so that we have the fetal tissue cells. Okay. Part 2, describe the process by which a karyotype is produced from cells removed during CVS. Okay. So 1 mark for saying that the cells are cultured, allowed to divide, or to obtain the sufficient cells. Okay. If you do accidentally start talking about amniocentesis, you would still get the marks in this point because it's how to produce a karyotype, which is the same. Okay. Second mark then for describing that the karyotype shows the chromosomes from that cell. Okay, so see, chromosomes are underlined, that word must be present to pick up the second mark. The third was about that comparison of the advantages, disadvantages. So suggest an advantage of using CVS rather than amniocentesis during antenatal screening. Well, that's because CVS can be carried out earlier in pregnancy. So remember, this is a comparative question, so the answer must show a length of time comparison. Okay? You could probably have said the converse, that the amniocentesis is carried out later, implying that the advantage is the CVS is done earlier. And so I hope this video's helped to explain the different diagnostic tests. If you do have any questions still, any comments, please let me know.